In this video, we'll take a look at some of the more advanced data protection features in the VNXe, including application-consistent snapshots and replicas using EMC's Replication Manager product, as well as remote replication between VNXe platforms for business continuity and disaster recovery. Okay, for our first use case, let's create a generic iSCSI object. We'll mount it to a host, and then we'll take an application-consistent snapshot of the data. So the first thing I need to do is create that generic iSCSI data store. We'll go to Storage, Generic iSCSI Storage, and create a new test run. We'll call this one Test Disk. And it doesn't need to be very big, so I'll just do 10 gigabytes with thin provisioning enabled. We'll configure protection storage space, but we won't set up a schedule. We won't be using the onboard snapshot mechanism of the VNXe for this exercise. We'll actually be using EMC's Replication Manager to quiesce the file system while we take the snapshot. And the system will recommend 5% of primary storage, and we'll take that recommendation. And we need to give access to this data store to one of our hosts. And we'll use the Replication Manager server. We'll give it access to both the virtual disk, that is the primary data store, as well as the snapshot space. Okay, now we need to go to the host and attach to the storage. Okay, so on the Replication Manager server host, I have an iSCSI initiator. Let's open that up. And I've created the iSCSI session using the initiator. And here's my new disk. I'll initialize the disk. And we'll need to create a simple volume on it. And we'll call this drive F. And call it test disk, and we'll do a quick format since we don't want to be here all day. Okay, once this is formatted and mapped, we can move some data onto it. Here's my new drive. Let's grab a piece of data here and move that into the directory. Okay, now let's take a look at EMC Replication Manager. Now this is the program that will be taking the snapshot. Replication Manager uses a variety of agents on the servers that pair up with either a file system or an application to quiesce the application or file system while it takes the snapshot. This means that when you restore from the snapshot, it will be application consistent and usable by that application or file system. Other snapshots that don't have an agent to quiesce the application are called crash consistent. This means that the data is there, but it may not be in a good, useful state for the application. Databases and applications like Microsoft Exchange are very sensitive to application consistency, so we don't recommend you try to take a snapshot of a Microsoft Exchange storage group without application consistency. So here I'm putting in host information into Replication Manager. And in fact, the host I'm putting in is the host that it's running on. Okay, so my host has been created. Now I'll create an application set. Now I have both the Replication Manager server as well as the agents running here. When I create the host, the Replication Manager server will interrogate that host to find out what agents happen to be running. So it may find VMware, Microsoft Exchange, Oracle agents, as well as NTFS. Now here it sees that I have VMware as well as the generic volume agent running. Generic volume agent allows me to take app-consistent snapshots of NT file systems. So if I expand this, I'll see any of the file systems that are eligible for this. There's my drive F. I'll go ahead and select that and move on. All right, now the application set is complete and I need a job. Well, I don't need a job. It needs a job. And this job will be the one that runs to create the replica. So when I launch the Create Job Wizard, it'll look at the application set that I have and give me the next step. I'll give the job a name, and we'll do snapshots first. There's my replication source, and here I have two options, Solera Snapshore or Solera Replicator. Snapshore is for taking application consistent snapshots that remain on the local system. Replicator means I'll be replicating to a remote system. So we'll do that in the next step. But for now, we'll just take a local snapshot. And this is telling me that it will automatically mount this replica once it's been created. I won't create a schedule for this job, but in the real world you likely would. And I'm done. Now if I look at the jobs, I can run it right from here. Now Replication Manager will do the rest. Let's take a look at the details of what's happening. In a nutshell, what's happening is the replication server contacts the agent. The agent tells the NT file system to freeze momentarily while it takes a snapshot of the data. This means that the write cache will be emptied and the data on the drive is consistent and correct. We take the snapshot and then we unfreeze the application, and then we move the snapshot into the snapshot space on the VNXe. Okay, so this is completed successfully. If I click on Application Sets, here's the replica that I just created. I can look at its properties. And here's some information about it. I can look at the contents of it. I can look at where it's stored. This LUN would be the LUN identifier that you would see on the VNXe if you looked. So let's go see if we can look at that replica. It's already been automatically mounted here in the RM mounts directory. It's in this folder. And if I take the shortcut to F drive, there are the contents of the original. Okay, now let's look at how we would do this using remote replication to another VNXe. So from the VNXe console, Unisphere, if I go up to the host menu, I can look at my replication connections to other VNXes. So here I have a replication connection both to my local destination as well as to a remote VNXe, in this case a VNXe 3300. I'll show you the wizard that you use to create this connection. Effectively, you just decide whether you're replicating to a VNXe or a Solera or VNX platform. Put in the DNS name or the IP address, as well as the login credentials, and the wizard will do the rest. All right, so now that we have a replication connection set up, we can go back to Replication Manager using that same file system. We'll make another snapshot of it, but in this case, it'll be a remote replica rather than a local snapshot. So again, I go back to Jobs, and here we'll create another new job. All right, so we'll give this one a descriptive name. We'll call this one iSCSI Remote Replica. And instead of Solera Snapshore, we'll select Replicator. Now here I'll give it the name of the remote VNXe, which is my VNXe 3300. This isn't a host name, so it doesn't really matter what you put here. It's just for reference purposes. And here I'm providing the IP address of the other iSCSI server that's running on the other VNXe. I also need the IQN of the remote VNXe. So let's go take a look at that. I have a tab for the other VNXe I'm managing. Here's my 3300. Now if I look under storage, here's a destination that I've created for that replica. Let's look at the details. And that's where I'll find my IQN. Here it is right here. So we'll take this IQN, copy it, and we'll take it over to Replication Manager now. And we'll go ahead and mount this replica once we create it from this host. No need to create a schedule. And we're done. So here's our new job. Let's go ahead and run it. So the process is largely the same here. The server will tell the agent to quiesce the file system. We'll take the snapshot, but now instead of putting the snapshot in local storage, we'll move it over to the remote VNXe. And here's my new replica. So same as before, I can take a look at the properties and I can see what the contents look like. I've also got this mounted right here on the RM server. So if I go to the directory where it's mounted, I should be able to see the contents. And here it is. We'll open that up and I have a shortcut to the F drive or the replica of the F drive. And there's the original data. So Replication Manager is a pretty powerful product in terms of data protection. And we offer agents for Replication Manager that support applications like VMware, SQL Server, Oracle, Microsoft Exchange, and of course the NT file system, which you just saw. So I hope this video has shown you that not only is it easy to provision storage and applications on the VNXe, we also make protecting that storage very, very easy. Take a look at our next video, the final one, where we'll do a walkthrough of the Unisphere Management Interface.